What's up everyone? Today we are going to show you guys how to fully restore a 70s Airstream window. What happens a lot of times is there's a film in between here and moisture gets trapped here, and the bubbles, the film, it's I think a solar film or something like that, and it bubbles up and it just looks like crap kind of. So what we're going to do is essentially we're going to take the window apart, take the panes apart, clean it, reseal it, and then put it back together. We looked all around online, YouTube, forums and everything, and we can't find a single video or anyone talking about doing this. So we decided we're gonna do it. Alright, so the first step is to take out all the rivets to take apart the window. So there's 1, 2, 3, there's like 10 rivets up there and then 2 right here, and that's it. So we just got a bit on here. All these rivets are 5/32. This bit it's a little smaller. We have it just so we're not kind of boring out the hole more. Alright, so when drilling out rivets, there's a couple ways to do it. A lot of people take a fine-headed punch. They'll punch a hole in there so they have the indentation, and then just, they can just drill straight down. Me personally, I just start as straight as I can, and then if it's not straight enough, I'll correct myself or whatever. The key for drilling out a good rivet hole, so when you're putting new rivets in, is to keep it straight. You want to keep it as straight as possible. So I'm just gonna start here. You kind of apply some pressure, start slowly, then slowly correct myself. Okay, so I got that hole. As you can see, right here, what this is, what holds these two little metal frames together, is there's a metal bar that goes from here to here. It's, yay big. And it connects these two, and these rivets hold in there. So what we gotta do is we gotta take these two off, and then we gotta take this off, which this connects to the window, the rail. So we drill all the rivets. Something I forgot to mention is, for sure, get a good bit. So we got I think it's a DeWalt bit. The bits that come with the rivet kits and everything, they're not good bits. They break easy and everything. So invest in a nice bit. They're $2, and they'll save you a lot of time. Okay, so now we just take out this little rail thing. It just pops right off. Just put that to the side, and then clean it off. We got this blanket here to protect the ground. Now you flip it around. Okay. And this is where we got to start taking off this trim. Cut these right here, the weather stripping, on both sides, so I can separate this, and then I'll work on these when it's completely separated. Okay, so this is the part that a lot of people have problems with. On half our windows we've restored so far, we've had a really bad issue with separating this. What happens is, what we think happens is, water sits down here, and then it all, just water traps down here. And right here, where I was talking about that little piece of steel that the rivets hold in, that rusts and gets crusty and everything, and you cannot separate these. So what we did is we kind of created a little tension tool. It's almost like think about a jack. So what we did is we took some thread from the depot, and then we took a couple bolts, and then I cut this off right here. So what it does is it sits in right here, and then what you could do is this is also from the depot, it's just a steel tubing, and we put it in here. So what you do is you apply pressure here. Well, you could also adjust this, and you put it in here, and then if this is really stuck, instead of hammering it, and that's not too good for the glass, that much kind of tension, what you do is you put it in here, and then you slowly push this bolt, and what it does is it separates these two things. This tool was a lifesaver. If we didn't have this, we were gonna keep pounding it away, ruining this. This aluminum is very soft, so when you're jamming stuff in there and really jamming stuff in, you're kind of bending the metal out. So this tool literally saved our lives. If you guys have any other questions on how to build it or anything, just shoot me a message in the comments, and I can help you guys out as much as possible. So we got the tool set up in here. cut the thread perfectly to size so it fits in here. I think it's right around 10 inches. So press this in there, do this. What I do right here is I get, you know, a wrench. So I apply pressure this way and then I just crank it. So you want to come take a look over here. Yeah, you can see it slowly opening up. If you want to check out this, yep. All right, guys, so once you get these two things separated, it's gonna look something like this, where you can see the rail right here, this little piece. Let's grab it, okay. Okay, so this rail connects the rivets into this little right here. But basically, take these two parts, you take these two pieces apart. Okay, you're left with the window. The next step, what we're gonna wanna do next is take off this gasket sleeve. All right, so there's really no trick to taking this off. It peels off pretty easy. There's a lot of, it's stuck on by like butyl tape and caulk. So what you wanna do is kind of just ride one of these plastic putty knives along the side. It's pretty hard rubber, so you're not gonna break it or anything. So now put this aside. So you kind of just work in all the way around. Just like this, kind of separate it, loosen up the butyl tape. Loosened up all the butyl tape, got the whole thing. So now I'm gonna go to the top part, kind of just lift up a little bit. So I get in there, got this handy dandy butter knife, okay? So just slowly work in there, just like this. And you wanna get back in there with this, kind of free it up. Get on the sides. Like I said, it's better to heat up. We have the heat gun. We're using it for some of this. Some parts are, you know, stiffer than others. Okay. Gotta rip that out. And there it is. So this is the film that obviously bubbles up and all the moisture gets trapped in or whatever happens. For taking off the film scrapers, they're the best. You can get them at Home Depot for like $4, but they just take the film right off. So I'll show you guys a little bit. It just kind of comes off just like that. Let's get it. Don't worry about scratching the glass either. I mean, it takes a lot of pressure to scratch the glass. So let's get in there. And do that. For the butyl tape, just use, you know, just this $2 razor blade from the Depot. It's like that. Have a garbage ready. The stuff like this, right here, where it's kind of like sticky, even this, or maybe like that much, that little bit, Goo Gone will just take that off with a razor blade. And so we got everything scraped off, well, mostly everything. In the reflection, you might be able to see there's still kind of water imprints of the bubbles and everything, and just kind of the film left a little residue. So we're gonna use Goo Gone. Works really good on taking everything off and kind of clearing everything up. Basically just start by kind of get the corners mostly on all of them. Just kind of let it soak in on the one with the film. So the front bigger layer, definitely do it on the whole thing. And then on the other one, just really do the corners because that's all that it really had any kind of adhesive on. Let that soak in, and then we're gonna scrape it and really get all that goo off. All right, so what I'd like to do is I kind of use the razor blade to really get in the edges and everything. So I'm kind of spreading it around. Make sure you have something underneath if you're, you know, working inside your house like we are. All right, so do that, and then I just start running it, the razor blade, trying to get all that little fine stuff, and work on the corners. And you'll actually start to see the film and the adhesive and everything build up in this kind of little pool of Goo Gone you have. Alright, after you guys are done Goo Gone and everything, you're gonna want to wash everything off. We've been using this Dawn Ultra. Takes the grease right off, or the Goo Gone right off. Just kind of put a little bit on both sides and just kind of start working it in. So you can actually kind of feel the goo gone. You'll kind of feel it go away as you keep circling and everything. So let's get it going. Note for anyone that's going to be washing in, you know, the shower or a tub like this. We just use the little sponges down there. Just, you know, cut one in half to kind of, you know, so we can apply pressure and not have it slide around. Alrighty, so super clean. Now we get a towel. Just kind of set it on there. Another towel, dry it off. Flip it over. We got dogs, so we get a lot of dog hair on it. So make sure, you know, once it's all dry and everything, you don't have any more dog hair on there, because, you know, it could get trapped inside your window or something.
So this is probably the most annoying part, is getting this old window gasket on. I found best that you just kind of start it at the end, just like slowly start peeling it away. Probably works best with two people, just kind of spray it as you go. Make sure to get off the sides, and you can even spray some of this in here. Just do this all the way around, just kind of inching your way through. Like, okay, so we're gonna do this all the way around. All right, so we did it all the way around. Just kind of depends on how much you can get off, but this doesn't matter because we're gonna put gasket on. Towel's pretty clean, so it's all ready for us to put it back together. So the next step is to make sure to clean the inside of the window, so the ones that curve this way, before you put them back together. So we just use this Perfect Glass from an auto shop. We didn't want to use Windex because that's more for like home windows. So we just want to make sure it protected it and made it streak free.
Alright guys, so one of the last steps is putting the panes back together. There's a couple different ways you could do it. After talking to a couple different guys in the industry and everything, basically chose, instead of the butyl tape, which originally came with it, we chose to use caulking cord. It has a couple characteristics very similar to butyl tape. However, it's less sticky and it's kind of easier to work with. It kind of comes in this roll, and this is kind of a mess. And you can kind of rip apart pieces. So what I like to do is I take 2 cord lengths and I kind of roll them together. So kind of just get them closer together. And then I start lining it up on the complete outside of the window. And I do this all the way around. Alright, so these are the little pin points or whatever they are that come inside of the window that basically go in between the panes and create that gap. Talking about the 2 caulking cord strips. They're right around the same height, and they'll fit in the sleeve really good, and they'll fit around the frames. Alright, so now we got all the caulking cord all around the smaller window. You want to find the right orientation, so there's a PPG, that's the manufacturers that made it. You want to match up with both windows. They both have it on the lower, what is that, right corner, there, lower left. I'm gonna match that up, and remember the bigger one goes on top and it overhangs on the top a little bit. Alright, so this is the bottom. We're gonna make sure you get it as flush as possible. Make sure yours is good on that side, matched up all the way around. Make sure the caulking cord is not sticking out too much. Remember, the sleeve goes around it a little bit, so. Okay, looks like we're a little, push it up a little bit. Okay, now you want to push it down a little bit, kind of seal it in as much as possible. Perfect. Alrighty, so we're just gonna kind of lay some silicone caulk, 100% silicone, to kind of seal it in there and make sure no moisture or anything gets in there. So just run it along the side right here. You can be sloppy with it, you know what I mean? Just make sure you get in every little bit. No one's ever gonna see this part, so you wanna kind of really make sure you get completely 100% sealed. And then, like I said, this is gonna get sloppy. Just kind of, you know, run your finger along this, really push it all in. All right, now do that all 4 corners, and then we'll be ready to put the gasket on. I just want to give you guys a little side note. If you accidentally get a little bit on the actual window or something, do not smear it. Let it dry first. You're gonna want to, you know, let it dry and then just take a razor to it. It'll come right off. Cut it. But if you smear it, it's gonna be much harder to take off. So we got all the seams caulked, nice and smooth. Nothing's inside. So now the double pane is back together. We're gonna put the rubber gasket around the whole thing, and then put the casing back on, and then rivet it up. Alrighty, so this is definitely best to have 2 people do this. What we're gonna do is we're going to stretch it out a little bit and put it on one side, start it on one side, and then kind of push it the other. Now this is the hardest part. You gotta stretch it and kind of try to not to separate the window. So this stretches pretty easy, but there it is. Make sure to check your caulk. Check everything that you stretched over, then put it back over. Okay. Okay, so you probably will get, silicone all over. Like I said, let it dry first. So, if you wanna put the rails back in and then, install it and then take care of the silicone, do that. You're gonna have much better results than smearing it and everything. So, we got that back on, time for the rails. Okay, so just kind of slide it in snug. Okay, get it in there. Okay. And this one we're having a little issue with on this side because it's not all the way tight and it's not kind of creating that complete pressure all the way around. So what we're gonna have to do is have to seal this up when we're all done, cut it, and then re-silicone around that. But just do that on both sides. So when you're putting these back together, you wanna make sure this lines up and you wanna kind of push it in there. So let's see. Get it in there, nice and snug, and there we go. These rails seem to corrode really easy on the bottom parts, so make sure you clean these really good before you put them back in. All right guys, so this is a little trick if you're trying to put the windows back together and you can't really get them back together, because sometimes once you put these back together, you can't get it quite in and you can't get the rivets in. So what we kind of came up with is we got this wire. I think it's like a 100-pound braided wire from Home Depot. It costs like 30 cents for 2 feet. And as you can see, we use it a lot. And you just use the existing rivet holes. There's all these you could use. Obviously, you use the closest ones. And then on the other side, there's 2 little guys, or they're further apart. So if you could see, the rail right here is not matching. I mean, this one we can push together, but for the purpose of the video, and if you come across a tougher window, this is what you're gonna wanna do. Grab a pair of pliers, clamp it, and then if you wanna look up here, what you wanna do is just twist it, and then it'll close it up just like that. See how that's closed? And then if you have a really tough one that really won't close, you're gonna want 2 people, and you're gonna wanna have a rivet ready, or get the one that's, most of the time, if it's really stuck, one of the holes is gonna stay stationary, and then the other one's gonna be the one that moves in and out. So you're gonna wanna put one rivet in, and then put the other one in, and then once you let go, it'll be good. All right, so we have 5 and 30 seconds, pop rivets, extra long. We got a box of them from a local Fastenal. I don't know if it's everywhere. So as you're holding it, put in the two rivets. And then you can let go of this, it's being held in. Put it in. Take it out. Make sure it's flush, make sure it's flat. Okay. Perfect. Now the last thing to do, besides the gasket, is to put this rail back on. We're gonna be using these Aero short rivets, 5 and 30 seconds by 1/8" grip. We could not find these anywhere. We actually found them on Amazon, and we had to actually search like really in depth for it. If I remember, I'll leave a link in the description. And then the long ones that fit perfectly to connect the 2 channels are, what size are these? 1/4 inch grab. So they're long, considered long ones, 5 and 30 second ones. Okay. So to do this, we're just gonna pop this in. All right, so we have all the rivets in, and then just continue that all the way down. All right, we got everything together, everything riveted. Before we put the gasket on, which is the very last thing, we're gonna wanna silicone the seams. These little things, they were before, obviously you gotta scrape them on both sides, and then we're gonna silicone with this light gray silicone to match how it originally was. There's like a light gray, hard glue-like substance, or I don't know exactly what it is, But we're gonna silicone this with the light gray, and then we're gonna flip it around, and then we're gonna show you the gasket. Alrighty, so we're not actually gonna be using the existing gasket or the original gasket that kind of opens up like that. What we're gonna be using is the D gasket. This is 1/2 inch by 3/8, I believe. It fits perfectly right on the rails. Why we wanna use this is because the seal is just much better. It's much tighter. There, as you can see, the D gasket, it has a lot more movement, and it opens up a little bit, so it'll fill all them little gaps. Airstream windows, they, you know, even when they're closed, they still have a little bit of movement. They're not super secured, so that's why I like the D gasket, and that's why we went with it. So for the D gasket, we got, you know, a bunch of it here, but here. What you want to start by doing, it has nice 3M tape. You want to make sure you clean this real good and basically just go along the whole thing and slowly peel away it. So start something like this. I like to start up here where it's going to be closed a lot. So start right here. Right, so we're coming right towards the end. What I'm going to do is match it perfectly up with this. Right there. Chop it, peel this, and then just slip it in there. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna heat this up with a lighter, try to mold it together, and as well as push everything down to ensure that it's sticking good. This tape that's on this D gasket is really good. I don't know if it's 3M or what it is. Also, I'm gonna link down below where we got this from. All right, so here's the window, completely redone. As you can see, new gasket on, all the film taken out, all cleaned out. It's ready to go in now. All right, guys, so we're back at the Airstream with the window. Installing it's pretty much just like taking it out. The only thing is, when you're putting it back in, these rails, what you gotta do is you gotta push the middle up as hard as you can when you're popping it back in. So it's gonna look a little something like this. Gotta kinda, sorry. Okay, so you take it in and you get them in these rails, but you have to have another person pushing up on the middle, because if you just do it like that, you're gonna get it on the ends and you're not gonna be able to close it. So make sure you have 2 people and pound it in.